behind the Beehive, where I look behind the political show and try and reveal the truth. And today's truth is this war for freedom is far from over. New Zealand may have a new look parliament that's looking so right-wing and friendly, but I can tell you they are a puppet coalition government with no power and authority to do anything, because they are a private corporation in themselves that do not need to listen to we the people whatsoever. And in fact, they won't, because they can't. They're well locked into all sorts of treaties and conventions and negotiating partnerships with all sorts of nefarious organizations and corporations that we wouldn't even know about, quite frankly, taking under table bribes, the works. How does someone like Comrade Ardern get to the multi-millions in a matter of a few short years on a prime minister's pay? Doesn't happen. But anyway, let's just go through a few points. I just want to refresh our thinking. I just want to put in just a pause. I don't want to be the spoiler here, because it does look as though we've got a chance to breathe. It does look as though we've got policies that are more in tune with our heart as we the people. But I also want to just make sure that we understand that they're just surface, they're just superficial. There's no real bite in anything that we're seeing that is coming out of this coalition government. I'm not here today to talk about their policies. You can read that for yourself. I'm here just to underpin the situation with the reality of who actually runs this country. We're not a sovereign and independent country here in New Zealand. We are a globalized outpost of a globalized, regionally divided up world that is under the control of big players. Many of them we don't even see. They're so far behind the shadows. I'm seeing a lot of squabbling on social media, and particularly from people that voted for Winston Peters, really denigrating those people that didn't, calling them idiots really, and these people that voted for Winston's party feel as if they have got the moral high ground as far as being the people that voted sensibly. And that might well be. I'm not here to be a spoiler for them either, but I just want to remind people that Winston Peters is an opportunist. He is politically savvy. He knows where the votes are. He was with the grey power, grooming them and patting them and giving them little gold cards to make their little lives feel so much better. 10 years ago, what would it be now? Changing none of the big picture. The big picture here in New Zealand has not changed. It's the big picture that is crushing and destroying us, not the little incidentals. This coalition government has just given us a few crumbs so that we can nourish ourselves and feel empowered. None of that is happening whatsoever. Winston Peters, he comes out of hibernation every 3 years to do his little political run to keep his money flowing. And then he has, he's the party boy, isn't he? And then he just gets on with his party. I'm not necessarily meaning party, drinking and carousing and dancing, although I'm sure that's part of it. But I'm just talking about networking and the big boys club that he belongs to. Now, let's just remember it was Winston Peters that stabbed the grey power or the retirees in the back last election when he went with Comrade. He wasn't left-leaning at all, and then suddenly he did that. That was a surprise to everyone and upset a lot of people. So he's up for that. He's not here for you and I. He's here for himself to keep his lifestyle going and being that voice that people semi-trust, and clearly a lot do trust, just to just settle the country down. It's been in furore for the last 3-4 years since this COVID scam. And so his job is just settle everyone down. He's the guy with the, shiny smile. Ting! You can trust me. I've been around. I'm politically savvy. I'm the guy. But remember, he was also the guy that signed New Zealand into the United Nations Migrant Compact. Open the doors wide for whoever the political establishment want to bring into this country. They tend to be people that will be left-leaning in their politics, people that have never really owned much in their own country, and are very grateful to any government that will open the door to them. This is happening around the globe. These people, bless them, not their fault. I don't denigrate them. It's just a reality. They are a pawn in this globalist game. I'm a daughter of an immigrant mother, so I'm trying to come from a place of reason and logic here, not from a place of emotional hatred for people coming into our country. It's not about that. But Winston Peters, he did that. And also remember during the Christchurch shooting, that false flag event that was well choreographed and organized behind the scenes way before it took place. I haven't got it there now. I did a podcast paper. I will be doing that, and that will be available in the next few months. And you'll be able to see all the red flags in that false flag event. Winston Peters was right there in charge of all the policing and all that side of things. That was his mandate. And I can tell you things were happening in back rooms there that we will not really know about. This is Winston Peters. Now, he might be the good guy at the moment coming on the white charger to save the poor plebs. But what's the saying? Don't trust the Greeks who come bearing gifts. Be very careful, people. Be vigilant. What they're bringing to the party here in New Zealand is just the breadcrumbs, just the small picture. So let's make sure, freedom fighters, if you voted for Winston Peters' party, if you didn't, doesn't matter. We are still going to be landed with whatever's coming down the pipe, and we need to be ready. Let's stop those labels. I'm noticing too a open letter from Doctors NZ SOS, again, saying, being quite rude, I thought, to people that didn't vote in this election. Some people have decided they're no longer in the corporation jurisdiction, and I just thought there was a little bit of a sharp dig there. Whoa! People, let's stay together. Let's not be like this. I know there are some umbrella groups, or not really umbrella groups, maybe bodies that are trying to bring together freedom fighters and freedom fighting organizations, particularly just to make sure that we stay unified at that level. And since the elections, this person and their organization or political party don't want to belong to it because that person over there was rude to them during the election cycle. If this is the way it's going to pan out for us, the elites will put an enormous tick in that divide and conquer box of theirs. Let's not go there, people. Let's not look for things that divide us. It doesn't really matter who we voted for or who we didn't vote for, what jurisdiction we're in. At the end of the day, we're all in the way of the tsunami coming at great speeds to crush and destroy us. So just remember, Wellington Beehive is the small picture. The big picture runs outside of this fair land. The big picture carries on regardless. The big picture is the tsunami that is fast coming towards us from offshore. So I'd like to I've got a few quotes here. I know I'm the quote person, but it's better that you understand from not just my opinion, but what the movers and shakers, what the elite, what the researchers are saying, so that I'm not just another person putting out opinion. I want to be the person that gives you citation. I want to be the person that is the message carrier for us going forward, so we don't miss anything. And that's what my Substack, weekly Substack articles are all about. On Substack, Antoinette James, The World We Live In. You can subscribe to me there for a free article in your inbox every week if you would like cited work, cited articles. But this is my first quote for today, and this was said by the former US President Bill Clinton in a 1997 UN speech. Now listen carefully, because it's very clear that it's the UN and conglomerates that are running the show here in New Zealand. What happens down in the Beehive is a distraction, people. He said, the forces of global integration, that's the one world totalitarian government, are a great tide inexorably wearing away the established order of things. That's the way we want to live, the way we did live. It's wearing it away. People are susceptible to misguided protectionism, to the poison agenda of nationalism and ethnic, racial and religious hatred. Just got to throw those in, don't we, so that we don't hear the word nationalism and say, hey, we want to be proud of our country, we want to be independent and sovereign. He goes on, new environmental challenges require us to find a new strategy of security. Nations, like New Zealand, have begun to put that strategy in place through a new network of institutions and arrangements. Nothing about voting, nothing about we the people. Through this web of institutions and arrangements, nations are now setting the international ground rules for the 21st century, isolating those who challenge them from the outside. So that's what hate speech is. It's to isolate anyone that might challenge these arrangements and institutions. That is we the people. So Wellington is doing the international bidding. Those politicians in Wellington aren't interested in we the people. They use Delphi technique and consensus. Many people here in New Zealand are doing common purpose training that changes and splits their psyche. They're put into very influential positions in the police force and education and all our institutions. We're being chewed away from within. And this has all been choreographed through the United Nations, the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, that comes out of America, part of the Tavistock Institution in Britain. I go into that in my latest Substack if you want to jump into Substack, Antoinette, The World We Live In. So the Vatican, the big kahuna, and the Black Pope behind the Vatican, that's the epitome of all evil. The banksters, doing their nefarious work, centralizing, good Marxist policy. Lenin said centralized finances, and NGOs, they're non-governmental organizations that was created, I think, in the 1970s by the United Nations, so they could swiggle their little tentacles into countries' political parliamentary systems. So the first I want to talk about is the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. This came out of Rhodes Secret Society and was created amongst other roundtable groups and think tanks, early 1900s. So here's a quote. This is from a book called The Unhappy Lords, An Exposure of Power Politics, written in 1965 by A.K. Chesterton. He says this: the Council on Foreign Relations is only one of a number of organizations that connect up with the United Nations and with similar networks in other countries, the whole system covering most of the globe. This is what Clinton was talking about, the institutions and networks. Here's another quote. This is from another book. This book is Shadow of Power, The Council of Foreign Relations and the American Decline. And instead of putting American decline, we can put the West's decline. We are part of the West. The West philosophical seat is Protestant Christianity, because that gives inalienable rights and freedoms. You don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be a Protestant, but you gain all those rights and freedoms. That's why the West is attacked so much, because we have those freedoms. Well, barely now. So let me quote, this is James Perloff, and this publication was 1988. In the fall of 1984, Foreign Affairs Kurt Waldheim, former Secretary General of the United Nations and former Nazi, writes, as long as states insist that they are the supreme arbiters of their destinies, that as sovereign entities their decisions are subject to no higher authority, international organizations will never be able to guarantee the maintenance of peace. So we won't be guaranteed anything. They've got weather modification, they've got scamdemics, they've got wars. They can do anything to plunder peace in any sovereign country. Any country that chooses their own destiny and says, actually, there is no one higher. The people of this land are the highest voice, and the government is there to serve them. Wow, wouldn't that be lovely?